Hello, everyone. This is Randy Kirk, and today we're going to talk about decisions, because right now Tesla is faced with what everybody in business would love to have, and that is just way too many opportunities and maybe not enough bandwidth to do all of them. So given that situation, what should Tesla do? That's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to add it up to $3 trillion worth of opportunities. That's an awful lot of money. No company has ever done $1 trillion in sales in 1 year. We're going to talk about $3 trillion within 7 years. And, I don't think that Randy the optimist is being crazy optimistic this time. I think we can prove the numbers are at least speculatively reasonable. So let's take a look here. I think that what we're faced with right now at Tesla is kind of the same as Elon's brain. He has described it, and every entrepreneur will be able to understand what Elon's talking about. He always has way too many ideas, really good ideas he thinks could change humanity or create amazingly successful businesses. He has way too many of those ideas, maybe even every day, every week, every month. He can't possibly do them all. So he's mentioned vertical takeoff and landing aircraft as an example. He's mentioned the HVAC systems for homes as an example. So there's just so many things, so many opportunities. He just can't do them all. So with all of those opportunities, Wall Street right now and retail investors think that the only serious opportunity is cars. They're basing the entire value of Tesla on cars. You already know, if you follow me at all on Twitter or you follow me here on YouTube, if you're subscribing, which you should be doing, please like right now, hit the like button while we're thinking about it. If you like this kind of content, please subscribe. If you'd like to get notified, and hit the notify button. So you already know that we've been talking for the last few weeks about energy, the energy storage business. I believe we've made the case that this is a $1 trillion business going forward, $1 trillion in sales going forward, 1.5 terawatts of energy being put into these terawatt hours being put into these containers each year as of 2030. Between now and then, it'll be ramping up from the 40 gigawatt hours that they currently have available and ramping that way. And we think 25 factories the size of Lathrop, or some larger factories, fewer of them, but larger. Anyway, adding up to those kind of numbers, and that would roughly, with all of the additional aspects of the energy storage business, that would give them about $1 trillion in sales and probably something like $300 billion in profits, just from that part of the business all by itself. Then, of course, we have the automotive side of it. Elon has said forever that it's 20 million cars by the time, I'm assuming he means cars and pickup trucks, by 2030. And if you multiply that times 50,000 average price of the car, that would give you another $1 trillion in sales. Now, there's also ancillary business, some of the services that will be offered afterwards, parts, so many other things. So even if the $50,000 a car comes down to 40 or 35, there's still a lot of additional revenue streams that are coming, not even counting robotaxis, not even counting full self-driving, just the car and normal kinds or sort of normal kinds of additional income. Insurance would be a great example. So I think that's an easy trillion, another trillion for energy. I think we've proven that in our earlier videos. And by the way, we broke that. In case anybody out there doesn't know that, we have it in the book. October 27th, the book came out. We were talking about Lathrop, we were talking about energy storage, and we were talking about what the kind of ramp that was coming would look like. And so we were a month, 6 weeks ahead of this news being broken. And now pretty much everybody's kind of getting into it. I don't think Wall Street is still got it figured out. That'll take a little while longer. So that's going to be a great opportunity stock-wise, that if you are in the know with regard to the Lathrop energy storage story, and Wall Street isn't, well, then there's a valuation. Some people are putting it at $60 a share, $70 a share in terms of value right now. And I would say it's more than that. on a stock that's selling for 120 or 115 or whatever. So just Lathrop alone, right now, immediately today, assuming their numbers for 2023 and 2024, you could easily get to $60, $70, $80 a share just for the energy storage business. All right, so that leaves the other one, okay, which we also talk about in the book, the Elon Musk mission. In this particular case, it has been a story that has been carried now 100% on the back of Brian Wong, okay, who is a contributing author to the book. He's been talking about it on Twitter. He's been talking about it on his own YouTube channel. I recommend that you follow him both places. But Brian has been talking now for at least 3 weeks about the amazing numbers that are associated with this truck potential ramp. Now, all Tesla has told us is that they plan to make 50,000 trucks in 2024. I'm guessing, based on a normal ramp curve, that they're going to make, in order to get to 50,000 in 2024, they're going to need to make pretty close to 25,000 in 2023. Now, here is the key to this story. One of the two keys to this story. Each truck currently, the best we know, sells for 180,000. There's no chance that that's what the number is going to be. It's going to be for the 500-mile range. It's going to be between 250 and 300,000. I think we can be pretty clear on that. The average Model 3 sells for 50,000. Average Model 3 and Y combined, we usually figure about 50,000. So that means that if the trucks end up selling for 300,000, that means each truck, just for the hardware, just the truck, is worth 6 Model 3s, okay? If he makes 50,000 in 2 years, that means that we're at 50 times 6, we're at 300,000 Model 3s. So 300,000 is 60% of the value of the factory, the first phase of the factory at Berlin or Austin, 500,000 cars. So 300,000 equivalent would be 60%. But the thing is that when you sell a Tesla semi, you're not just selling a Tesla semi. Every single semi truck requires between 1/5 and 1/10 of a Megapack. And let me explain that the other way. You need Megapacks to supply the energy for these trucks, because you can't draw that kind of current off of local grids. You can't. Your plant, if you have it if you have your charging station, your mega charger at the factory or at the distribution center or at the retail center, you would have to use up all the energy for the building for 45 minutes while you charge the truck. So that's not going to work. So in each location, each individual, like Pepsi, for instance, we'll use as an example, they're going to be doing point-to-point use of these trucks. So either from the bottling location to the distribution center or to a retail store, or from factories to retail stores. So however this is going to work, it's going to be point-to-point. So Pepsi is going to put in mega chargers at either the factories, the bottling centers, the distribution centers, the retail stores. They're going to have the ability to charge at these locations. When they do this, they're going to need a mega charger to back up every 5 to 10 trucks. Mega chargers cost $2.2 million. So you divide that by 10, that would be $220,000 per truck. So you're basically to some extent. Oh, and then there's also additional costs for that Tesla's going to charge for constructing or putting the mega charger in place. They're also going to probably set up an arbitrage system on that mega charger so that the company and/or Tesla will make money by selling power on to the grid when it's not necessary to be going into the trucks, et cetera. There's additional costs involved or additional revenues for Tesla involved. But roughly speaking, when you count the mega chargers, you count the mega packs, and you count the additional services, software, et cetera, you're probably getting a doubling of the revenues for each truck sold, something on that order. So now you're talking about the truly, it will, that the 50,000 trucks projected for 2024 will be the equivalent of a full-on Austin first phase or a full-on Berlin first phase. So that's important. That's just as important as the energy story, which is also, roughly speaking, we're estimating $10 billion in profits from Lathrop next year, and based on $22 billion in revenues. So it's a nice margins, like we're figuring close to 50%, maybe 50% margins. So the truck story is as big as the energy story. That's the point of this video. The truck story is as big. Now, that's for 1 year or 2 years. We can look out and say, okay, that's what Tesla says they're going to do. But the question becomes, why would you not then continue to ramp significantly in the future? The potential sales for the semi-truck or in the multiple millions. So I'm only going to assume that Tesla, being smart, will be shooting for roughly 1 million trucks per year in 2030. That'd be just a fraction of the market. They could shoot for more, and they would probably get all that they shoot for because nobody's close to them in terms of being able to produce a truck of this size, quality, capabilities, specs, etc. So, and nobody has the Megapacks to go with the truck. I mean, just so many reasons. That's a whole nother video. But let's just say that they shoot for 1 million. 1 million of these trucks times, let's say, $500,000 of revenue per year in 2030 would be $500 billion in revenue in 2030. So is that an important number? $500 billion in revenue? Well, again, it would be way bigger than any company. Well, I'm sorry, except for I'm sorry, except for Walmart, which I think is around that or maybe a little higher. It would be the highest revenue company in the world. Potentially even the revenues are greater than that at that point. I could easily make the case that it's going to be $350,000 per truck, $350,000 for additional. So now you'd be at $700 billion in revenues. So all in all, we're looking at 3 close to our potentially $1 trillion businesses. And they're not the other 2 besides auto. First of all, nobody's basing their estimates of Tesla for 20 million cars. I mean, nobody on the street believes they're going to do 20 million cars in 2030. I do. 50% ramp per year. They're showing they can do that. I think they'll continue to do that. So that's 1 trillion, 2 trillion, 2.7. Who's counting? That doesn't count anything for FSD. That doesn't count anything for robotaxis. That doesn't count anything for the charging stations that they'll have. Probably 100,000 charging stations by that time. I mean, it doesn't count any of the other businesses, doesn't count robots. Just those 3 are looking like close to 3 trillion in sales by 2030 at, let's just call it 30% margins. So now the question becomes, what does Tesla do? Can they do all 3 of those? Can they ramp all of the potential energy storage business? Can they ramp all of the semi-trucks, and can they ramp all the cars and smaller trucks at the same time, and also do robots and all the other things? Do they have enough bandwidth, and do they have enough management skills? Do they have enough employees and people that can actually do all 3 of those things at one time? Well, that's a pretty serious question. So I put that to Brian Wang the other day, and I said, Brian, if you were Techno King for a day, which one would you do? Which one would you prioritize? And his feeling was you prioritize the trucks. And the reason for that is, if you get electric trucks of this quality on the road, with these specs on the road, every truck that's doing those kind of deliveries reduces the cost of the things it's delivering by 90%. So let's say that right now the cost of food, that 10% of the cost of food is in transportation. All of a sudden, you're going to drop that dollar item in terms of the cost delivered to the retail store. You're going to drop let's say it costs the retail store $1. all of a sudden it's going to cost them only 91 cents. So that's pretty significant. So that would be a big impact on the world right there. Number two, you're eliminating massive amounts of diesel fuel. So that's going to have a big impact on the amount of oil that's required to be pumped out of the ground. This is a big deal for China, since they're not since they don't produce enough of their own oil to be energy sufficient. So they would love to have electric trucks. You also are going to reduce the amount of noise pollution in the cities by a lot. You're going to also eliminate the brake dust that is a horrible particulate in the air, because these are regen. They're going to the brakes are going to be regen almost all the time. So there's some big benefits besides just the energy savings and the dollar savings and the CO2 savings, et cetera. So that's why he would choose trucks over the other two. What do I think? I think that maybe it's possible to ramp all three simultaneously. I think it's a massive job. I think I'm glad that Elon Musk is the one that's in the driver's seat doing it, because if anybody can get all three of those things done simultaneously, I think he's the guy. So I hope you've liked this content. I'm looking for more people. The Patreon group is growing rapidly. We're already got some conversations going that are kind of fun. Come on, join Patreon, like the video, subscribe, do all that. This has been great talking to you today. See you next time.